All right, we appreciate you joining us this evening. We've had a little technical difficulties. We're trying to figure out some new software, and um, technology is great when it works. Just your first time at channel, welcome. We make videos that are all things Southern California. What it's like to live here, work here, play here, own a home here, have fun. Um, my name is Bruce Clark. I'm a professional real estate agent. Been doing it 18 years and love it. And we have two kids that we get all around Southern California with, and of course some real estate also. So we whether it's camping, amusement parks, eating, of course real estate. We thank you for joining us. So one of the things we'd like you to do, click the subscribe button so we can notify you. Same thing, hit the notification button. We can notify you the next time we upload a new video like this, or videos on. We've got videos on Irvine and Newport Beach and Newport Coast and all kinds of things. So we appreciate you joining us. So tonight we're going to talk about, really going to talk about a lot of things. A lot of things are going on. One of the things we're going to talk about, let's talk about insurance. This week, the past couple of weeks, we've helped clients with insurance needs. We're not insurance agents, but we have excellent insurance agents we work with. And one of the things that's happened in California is State Farm has pulled out of the market. They've totally pulled out. If you don't have an existing policy, they're not writing new homeowners policies. Now, about 3 years ago, I sold a home in the Crosby's, which is a custom golf course community in San Diego. And client bought an absolutely gorgeous home, absolutely phenomenal view. He was moving back to Scripps Hospital. He's an oncologist, and this beautiful home. Initially, when this gentleman, when he and his wife started shopping for insurance, home insurance, it was like $48,000. It was crazy. So put him in touch with some agents. Finally, got coverage and saved a lot of money that way, and got excellent coverage. But what's happened recently is things have changed in California. One of the things is the wildfires, but it's wildfires, and so insurance companies just don't want to take on additional risk. Also, what's happened is a lot of developments. What they're doing is, since the state of California is pushing communities to build and builders to build more low-income housing and frankly, more housing, period, because they just want a lot more homes. What's happened is they're going into areas that they didn't really consider a while back because of potential for wildfires. We have a client owns a substantial home in a custom home community here in Irvine, and their insurance went up like 40% and another 40%. So we put them in touch with another carrier, another agent. There's some new carriers out there. So what worked in the past doesn't necessarily work now. We did the same thing with a client in Los Angeles, and they end up changing carriers and same thing, get a substantial discount. But of course, no guarantee that we're able to help everyone. But my point is that we do a lot of things for people. We're not just real estate. We also help put a client in touch with a trust attorney. This week we've got our general contractors, builders, developers. We just a handyman. We a lot of things. We bring a lot of tools to bear. So I take great pride in that. My wife and I think that our team, I think that really makes a difference. One of the things we did was we had a seller that needed to establish a tax basis going back to 1992 when her husband had passed. And we helped sell her home. In fact, we sold her home. And so she needed to go back and was something to do with the trust. And she was not in country. So I worked with Title. They sent me a ton of information. Shout out to Tycor Title. Same thing, First American. So the Duarte brothers, Felix and Tomas at Tycor Title, Jeff Gibson over at First American. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. They work hard for us. And worth their weight in gold. But what happened was she needed to establish a basis. I couldn't pull the data from the multiple listing service. It just wasn't out there for public consumption. So I had Tycor Title, again, Felix and Tomas Duarte went ahead and provided me data, and it really saved the day, so to speak, for the for the client. You're going back more than 30 years. How do you get that data? That's the value of having a relationship with a real estate agent, with title, with escrow. We not well, same client needed the final closing statement, and another client did also for tax purposes, and we were able to, if we don't have them, then we can procure them from our escrow companies because we have great relationship with the escrow providers. So it's a big deal. Also, what happens is relationships. So not only do we have, of course, insurance and title and escrow and builders and all that, but also with other real estate agents, and that's a big deal. I'm a big believer that, first of all, God doesn't give me what was intended for someone else, and vice versa. But I don't quote unquote poach, and what I mean by that is I'm easy to work with when I list homes. Agents know they can send their clients. I'm not going to try to turn them, so to speak, and use me. And I don't solicit, and that's a big deal. So when someone has a home available, when they have a pocket listing, something off market, typically I can hear about it. You can get clients in if it's available for showings, and that's helped. I've sold homes that sold 5 million plus home that was not yet on the market, and it was under construction in a very narrow timeline because of the tax consideration. And I found out about it, talked to the agent, boom, buyer got in and flipped it. Bought it for 5.2 million, sold it for 6.3 million in 6 months. A pretty good 6 months. So again, there's lots of things. So let me come back though. I digress. So let's talk about low inventory. And let me do a screen share here, and it's really cool. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over to what's called list reports. And I love this. And so the National Real Estate News, with very few exceptions, home prices are rising again nationwide. According to Black Knight, which is one of the best data providers, you have Adam and you have Black Knight and you have CoreLogic. These, I think, really the three preeminent providers of data for real estate. Median home prices are now only 1% below their peak in June of 2022. Nearly half the largest 50 cities are either back at or setting new record highs. Certainly what we're seeing in Riverside County, Los Angeles County is hot, certainly what we're seeing in Orange County. Inventory for homes should be rising right now. Instead, inventory's been flat for the past 4 months, approximately 560 to 580,000 homes. Now, to put in perspective, in May of 2019, there were 1.2 million homes available for sale, so less than half. So right now, one of the drivers of the market is low inventory. It's driver prices. People want to buy, and so they're willing to start, get into a quasi bidding war, and that's what we're seeing. It's really rough. And let me show you this. This is a really cool chart. So inventory rebuild sputtering, now up only 20% relative to last year. We're still 50% down pre-COVID. And so COVID really skewed the market, and maybe almost permanently. Certainly, we're seeing a lot of problems in commercial. But I thought that was some really interesting data. The Federal Reserve, they skipped a rate hike. That's what they did. This is about a week old. But at the the Open Market Committee meeting, they decided, because inflation looked like it was slowing down a little, jobs report was pretty good. What they did was they decided to not raise the Fed funds rate this quarter. However, I do believe they're going to raise it next quarter. I think inflation is going to tick up. But Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, he's indicated that's what he's going to do. Now, for some of these banks that have gone under recently, hopefully they'll see the writing on the wall, and they'll know that the rates are going to go up. So we talked to I know that some people, we've talked about hedges and things, and there's ways and collars. There's ways you can control your rate. You can buy all kinds of different things, but so we anticipate rates are going to go up in the short term, and it could be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, could even be a couple years. But what we're seeing as far as rates, and this is interesting. 1 year ago, 5.49%. Right now, we're right at 7%. The peak was back in October, and the low was in February. So we've come back up. So 6.94, probably where we're going to stay for a little while. So plan on that. Now, as a buyer, let me go ahead and close this out. Let me go back here and we'll stop the screen share. So as a buyer, what can you do? Well, as a buyer, some of the things you can do is you can get down payment assistance if you're a first-time buyer. You can also have rate buy downs. A seller can. We have some sellers that will that have participated in rate buy downs. And what rate buy down does is it gives you a lower interest rate. It could save you anywhere up to $1,000 a month. But the down payment assistance programs for first-time buyers is really where the government and a lot of the lenders are focusing on. We have a couple lenders have a $25,000 grant program. It does not have to be repaid. Really cool program. You also have Chinoa, which is an Indian tribe, and they're back in the market. They're lending money. And so that's an interesting one because they have what's called less overlays. And we'll discuss that at some point further. Probably have a lender on, and we'll do some neat stuff there. But suffice to say that it's kind of like a template, and here's what they have, and here's your DTI, debt to income ratio, and FICOs and things like that. It's pretty cool stuff. But they're back. We also have Fannie Mae. We also have the state of California. So there's a lot of different programs. There was a Dream for All program, and that was a 20% equity share. You've had a 10% equity share program. 20% was the last one. There were 1,600 people that took advantage of that. There wasn't that much money in the scheme of things, but that money's all gone. But we do think the Dream for All is going to come back. So as a buyer, that's what you can do. As a seller, you need to have people that are aware of these programs because that can help you reach a bigger audience of buyers. And that could be a big deal because the difference between one offer, two offers, or even four offers be the difference between 1 or 2%, or even more, even 5%. So if you have out here right now, we've got homes that the average, for example, Orchard Hills is $4 million. So if you could get 5% more, that's $200,000. So it's a big number. So how you help the buyers afford the home, so to speak, can be a big deal. And that's with the agents, and that's with lenders. Some of the agents, what they do out here is they ask the buyers to cross-qualify with the lender of their choice. Now they say it's the seller requests the buyer cross-qualify, and to be honest, most sellers couldn't care less unless they really know the industry. But most of the time, it's the agent, and there's someone they like using, and so. But one of the values to having cross-qualification is they go through the documentation, they verify things. But most of these things are pretty simple to read. We know very quickly qualifications. We know people that can and can't afford. We get proof of funds, and we get what's called DU, which is desktop underwriting approval. We get these documents. We know how to read them, and so. For the most part, again, we're not fooled by those things. However, one of the things that we do is we do have some lenders we consult with if we have any questions. But cross-qualifying isn't as big a deal in most cases. But again, coming back, so low inventory. Some other things that a seller can do. We're in a market that you don't have to do a lot of work. However, there's some things that can add value. So the difference between $1 million to $1.1 million, if you put $20,000 in the home, could you get another $80,000? Perhaps you could. It could be replacing the AC system with a more energy efficient system. It could be putting a Nest or some similar type of high-tech HVAC monitoring and a thermostat. It could be adding some recessed lighting and coffered lighting. It's kind of a recessed show you pictures at some point. But it might be in the kitchen. I think it's like $1,200 in one of the homes that we sold, and it added value because people came in. They don't realize it was only about $1,200. Most people think it's a $5,000 to $10,000 ad. So that was a great value add. It could be as you come in and you've replaced the sinks, a little older sinks. You might have gone with some neat pedestals. You might go with some pendant lighting. You might change the mirrors, and bam, 5,000 gets you 25,000 more. So there's lots of things that you can do still to maximize. Could be staging. I like virtual staging if someone doesn't want to spend the money. But you can stage a home. Photos. We love using high-res photos, and that's a big deal. I'm not as big a fan of most of the 3D. I think there's Matterport and some other stuff, and I like what Matterport does with generating a floor plan. But to me, the drone footage, the area drone footage, having multiple views of the home, having high quality pictures is a big deal because people will see those on the internet. And photographers are not too expensive, even for, let's say, a $300,000 or $400,000 home that I would suggest one not use them. I've always used professional photographers. I'd say probably about 90% of the time. There are cases, maybe some leases and things, but for the most part, yeah, you always get value, and that's a big deal. What we also find is the way a property is described. We talk about the property. We talk about we show. Sometimes we have virtually staged photos. Here's the potential of a home. We're doing that right now with one of the homes that we have. We talk about we have pricing. We talk about prices of things that one can do. So let's say a home needs a new kitchen, needs new windows, it needs paint, it needs all these things. We're really good at pricing. And I was just at Home Depot with my wife, and we walked around and we looked at price of flooring, we looked at prices of counters. We had there's distressed wood, of course, there's hardwood, there's the engineered wood. There's also, then we looked at granite, we looked at quartz, we looked at all kinds of different counter materials. We also went over to appliances. I just want to make certain that when we're talking to people about what they can and can't do and for a certain amount, that we have all the information and it's as accurate as possible. So you could have a kitchen that has great boxes, cabinets. They might be wood, but they're dated. Well, one of the things you could do is you could reface, you could resurface, so to speak. You could put new hardware on. You could decide that you're going to open a couple up and maybe add some glass and have some backlighting. But there's all kinds of things that sellers can do, even in a low inventory market, to maximize their price. What we find is that God's in the details. So there's so many things, and these are things that we thoroughly enjoy. They add great value. What we're seeing, let's come back to low inventory. What we're seeing is multiple offers. We're still in multiple offer situation on most of the homes. And good homes priced well are always going to sell, and certainly in a market like this. We have buyers in Riverside County. We have buyers in Los Angeles County. We have buyers in some other counties. And right now we're seeing multiple offers. We're not seeing multiple offers on commercial as much. There's not as much competition. I don't know if you've read about what's happening in San Francisco, but the largest mall owner, Westfield and Brookfield, have pulled out. They just gave the mall back to the lenders, literally. Nordstrom pulled out. So the anchor pulled out. Some other stores pulled out. The largest theater just pulled out of that mall. They're gone. They have given the mall, literally, shopping mall, back to the lender. What's also happened is the two largest hotels in San Francisco, one of them being the Hilton, has like 1,900 rooms, and then they also owned another one, as Park Hotels, and there were 3,000 rooms. They literally stopped paying on that loan, and they've given it back to the lender. And what's going to be the effect on residential? We're not certain yet. There'll be some effect. What it's going to be, we don't exactly know. But I think there's going to be some interesting things. But that's being driven, of course, high crime and things like that. That's what we're seeing. Um, but coming back to the residential, we're still seeing a lot of multiple offers, and it can be tough, certainly in a certain price range. If you're out here, if you're in a 500 to 800,000 range, it's very tough to buy in Orange County. So you're by default you're going to end up in Riverside County. Could go to Los Angeles County. Most of the buyers end up going Riverside County, San Bernardino County, but that's where the down payment assistance programs can really make a difference. So it can buy down the rate from, let's say, a 6.75. They can get a $25,000 grant. It could buy it down a whole point. Depends. You can do a short-term buy down. You can do a long-term, permanent buy down. So again, consult with the lenders. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email if you want a list of our lenders. They're wonderful people. We trust them, and so we love sharing that information with people to do a good job for us. But again, as a seller, these are invaluable too. One of the things that we have in the multiple listing service, there are links. For properties FHA approved, there's a link for that. It's called Rate Plug. And then also we have a link to all the down payment assistance programs that the property qualifies for. Not every development out here is approved for FHA financing. Right now, FHA still, it's a big deal. Not everything's approved for all the different types of financing, the economic zone incentives, things like that. But what the listing we have right now at 3 Olympia in Irvine, there are 28. There are 19 on this one. 19 down payment assistance programs available. There's 28 in another one. 19 available. Now, some of them say they're available, and then when you look, you'll find the funds can be expended, or things have changed. But it almost changes daily. So there's a lot of programs available. There's lots of different ways that you as a buyer can get into a home. Of course, and as a seller, then I think that brings great value. And some of the sellers, in fact, most of the sellers are probably not aware of all these down payment assistance programs. And I say that because I ran into a gentleman at our church that, shout out to Calvary Chapel, Tustin, Pastor Barry Stagner. He was talking, he was getting his daughter into a home, and a friend of his was an agent. And he was wondering about, financing. We started talking, and I said, "Hey, are you aware of all the down payment assistance programs on this home?" And he said, "I have no idea." So I sent him a link, and on that one there were 28 different programs, and it could save he and his family and his daughter a ton of money. So very important as a buyer, very important as a seller. Again, God's in the details. So to maximize your buying power, down payment assistance programs, know what's available. Reach out to us. We have some great lenders. Same thing as a seller, know what's available to help the buyers. It opens up the buyer pool dramatically, especially in the up to, let's say, $3 million range. It's not as big a deal to have $25,000 if you're buying, a $3 million home. But let's say in $1 million to $2 million, I think it can be a big deal, especially again for first-time buyers. So that's kind of this evening. I think there's a lot of things going on, and we try to keep abreast of the economy. We try to keep abreast. We keep abreast of the stock market, bonds, all these things. Certainly, we pay a lot of attention to the Case-Shiller. What Black Knight's saying, what CoreLogic. There's all kinds of things, and we're always educating ourselves on what's going on. So I appreciate you joining us, and certainly reach out to us. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest next 5 days, 50 days further out, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We'd love to help you make a smooth move to the area. And if you're moving from Southern California, let us know. We have some great resources. We have a phenomenal network of agents that we trust, we vetted. Wonderful. So whether you're moving to Texas or Florida or Tennessee, Ohio, if you're moving, let us help you. We help interview the agents and make certain they're a good fit. We've done that for agents, for our buyers throughout the country. So again, appreciate you joining us. Have a great evening. Reach out to us. Let us know, what are you seeing in your market? Reach out to us. Let us also know, what videos you would find of interest. Have a great evening.